All of them have difficulties at school. Some of them are there just because their parents wanted a different kind of teaching for their children. And some of them are really are having really critical problems in their schooling. We also have an autistic hypertensial child this year due to our partnership with the Medical Psychiatric Center that I mentioned earlier. We will be opening up the third class either in January or in September. And this will be, we will then have the definitive structure of our pilot school. Anaïs was our first teacher. We have a second teacher called Yves. And we also have 3 tutors in English, Chinese and music who come in to speak to the students, and 2 specialists who come in to speak to the students, sometimes 4 times a week. We have a specialist in a therapist who helps the children to write, and a sophrologist. So our teaching methods are based on North American model and alternative schooling, such as the Steiner model or the Montessori schools. Our objective is to open other schools up. I will let Anaïs talk in a moment. I've brought with me some of the school agendas in case any of you would like to have a look. And on our site we have a blog, a daily blog where the teachers put up photos, and there are with tools and some sentences about what has been done during the day. It is not just for parents, but anyone else who's interested in the project can take a look. I am very pleased to be here with you today and to share my experience on the ground with these very interesting yet atypical students. I've always been particularly sensitive to the issue of precociousness, as it is a family affair. My dad and my sister are intellectually precocious. My aunt is a teacher in the public school system and is very up to date with new teaching methods, and so I have learned a lot from her, and I intend to use everything that I have learned in the classes. Today I will explain to you what happens on a typical day at our school, so that you can see what our teaching methods are like. Anne said earlier, a lot of the children at the school, or a third of the children at the school, have been failing at their previous school, and this is because they were not understood and that they were rejected by others. Some of them were fulfilled, but our objective is to make them heard and understood by everybody, and we are always telling them how much they are loved. But before we can teach them French or maths, they have to really feel good at school, and not say that they have stomachache or a migraine. So the school starts at 9 o'clock. We have a group which lasts about 20 minutes at 9 o'clock. And this is a time for listening and for understanding one another. And it is really this is the moment of the day that the kids love the most. We can listen to music. We will talk about what they have done at the weekend or their holidays. We'll talk about what they are interested in. That could be volcanoes or a particular scientific experiment that they've done. And this is a time when we will get together and think about our actions and think about how we are going to integrate the child's interests. As when a child is interested in what they are learning, they are much more motivated. So the first half of the morning is dedicated to traditional academic subjects, as the idea is later on to reintegrate the children into the French national school system. And this is a very normal schooling environment. We use the same sort of material, notebooks, for example. But the program does take on a different form. with whatever subject I'm teaching them, whether it be grammar or maths, I will always try to make the students as interested in what they are learning as possible. It's about making them exchange and and so that the class is not simply passive, where they are sat in front of a photocopy. It's about interaction with the group and with myself. Following this, there is a 20-minute break, as these are very active children that need to get out and move so that they can later on concentrate once again. And the second half of the morning is where we fill out the documents by level and by age, and where there will be a workshop, much like the Montessori workshops, which last for an hour. The question was, how do you manage children with attention deficit disorder? How do you get them to focus their attention? Well, at the Arborescence school, they are lucky enough to have quite a big school, so the children can move around quite a lot. Of course, they might be sat at a desk, but there will be a blackboard on the wall, so they can get up and they are working, but they might be working on the blackboard. And there are many different ways to help them to focus their attention. There are workshops. They get them to do a lot of dictations, as this demands quite a lot of effort. But all of the but for no more than 10 minutes at a time, where they will encourage them to interact as much as possible. It also requires a lot of improvisation, and although you might have an idea about how the day is going to pan out, you will always have to change something. They try to use a maximum of pedagogical materials, and they are helped a lot by a sophrologist. If they see that a member of the group is not paying attention, they will do more motor exercises or breathing exercises to get them to rechannel their energy and to pay attention. The children who have attention deficit disorder are monitored by a psychologist and various other specialists, so that the work that they do at the school is as efficient as possible, as at school they are not speech therapists or specialists in different areas. And so they work together with these specialists. Another question that was asked was, in one of the previous slides, there was a very alarming figure that 3 times as many precocious children, that the suicide rate amongst precocious children is 3 times higher. And so the question was, what would you do if a child starts to talk a lot about death, or has depressing thoughts and has showing signs of wanting to commit suicide? They have been lucky enough not to have had many cases. Anaïs had one case last year, and she reacted by listening to why he was having such thoughts, and to relate to the parents. The main thing is to build an environment of trust, to let the child know that he can trust you. This is not an easy thing to do, as these children often distrust adults. Many of them have been treated by various psychologists with no one really addressing their issues. So the main thing is to let them know that they can trust you, that you're there for them, and that you're not there to judge them. And then they feel that they are understood by others. And of course they speak only to the teachers, but sometimes they might come out with something to the other children, and in that case they must be isolated from the other children. There are different solutions on the short, medium and long term. A short-term solution is to isolate the child, to speak to him one-on-one. The morning sessions can also be used for this, as it is a space where the children can talk freely about any subject that they wish, and they may wish to talk about this to their other classmates. In the medium term, there is the relationship between the parents, the teachers, and the specialists. And each party must trust one another. We often have problems when the trust link between the parents and the school breaks down, or the parents think that the school is there to treat the children rather than to teach the children. In this case, we advise the parents that they seek specialist help. And the long-term solution is this idea of developing empathy with the children, working on their abilities to empathize and to develop their wisdom. And this is something that we've seen in Canada, as we have close links with Canada. Some children do have a natural ability to relate with their peers, and what we need to do is to help them develop this idea, to develop this ability, so that the children a child that might be suffering can have both an adult answer and an answer from his peers, which will be two very different answers.
D'écouter l'enfant et d'essayer de lui répondre au mieux en moment de crise. Le rituel du matin, il sert aussi à ça. Ça peut être l'occasion, des enfants qui ont eu des situations difficiles à gérer, d'en parler en fait avec le groupe classe, puisqu'on développe beaucoup l'esprit d'équipe et l'appartenance au groupe, ce qui souvent est d'ailleurs ce que les enfants n'ont pas eu dans leurs expériences scolaires précédentes. Les solutions à moyen terme, c'est le triangle parents, soignants, enseignants est essentiel. Et on remarque, parce que on ne peut pas faire de miracle, il y a des enfants avec qui on n'y arrive pas, que très souvent, c'est quand justement le lien de confiance n'existe pas entre les parents et l'école, ou que les parents nous considèrent comme des soignants avant d'être des pédagogues. Or, on n'est pas des soignants, on est des pédagogues. Donc, dans ces situations-là, on conseille aux parents de s'orienter vers des personnes dont c'est le métier. Et les solutions à long terme, c'est aussi ce qu'on met en place au niveau pédagogique, notamment le développement de la sagesse, de l'empathie et de la bienveillance chez les enfants. Ça, on s'en inspire notamment de choses qu'on a pu voir au Canada, parce qu'on est assez proche du Canada, on communique beaucoup avec eux. Certains élèves ont cette capacité naturelle aussi de pouvoir échanger, discuter, rassurer leur père, et de pouvoir aussi accompagner ces enfants et développer cette capacité pour que un enfant en situation de souffrance ait des réponses d'adultes, mais aussi ait des réponses d'enfants de son âge, donc où il va entendre des choses différentes.